So you have multiple ideal clients that you're trying to reach with your video content. What do you post and how do you know what to say so you can speak to those different audiences? This is a struggle that I see a lot of business owners and creators really grapple with. And spoiler, you are not a special unicorn if you struggle with this. Most of us do have multiple ideal followers that we're trying to reach. So I'm going to share 3 different strategies to help you attract, nurture, and convert those different types of ideal followers. Strategy number 1 is to create content pillars. And this is not something new. I've talked about this before in my content on my podcast because it truly is that important and the first step I always tackle when creating any video strategy. Essentially, your content pillars are common themes or topics that you will be basing your content off of. So whether you're using them to generate ideas or if you're taking the ideas that you're having and you're essentially running them through your content pillars to make sure that they're relevant to your ideal follower, they're essentially your map on what to be creating content about. And it essentially creates a brand for your social media presence and not just a niche. So if you have multiple people that you're trying to reach with your content, you're able to build out multiple content pillars. I usually recommend 5 as the sweet spot. So you're able to speak to those different audiences. And some of these content pillars are going to be the common thread. What are the topics or the themes that multiple different people are going to be interested in? For example, one of my content pillars is original video content. And that's not only relevant to people that might want to buy one of my coaching programs, but it's also relevant to people that might want to work with me in my agency or do a brand partnership or hire me as a speaker. Original video content is my expertise, so it makes sense that no matter how I talk about that topic, it's going to be relevant to all of my different audiences. And then the other thing you can think about with your content pillars is some of your content pillars might speak very specifically to one of your ideal followers and not the others. So when you have a really strong content pillar strategy as the foundation, it really allows you to always create content that's relevant to one or more of your ideal followers. The next strategy is to do mini sales campaigns or launches for your offers. And this applies to you even if you have an evergreen offer, like a service, or if you're trying to focus on an ideal follower, like you're wanting to attract more speaking engagements or even more brand partnerships. Essentially, you want to dedicate all of the content that you're creating around that specific offer or around that specific ideal follower. Because a big mistake a lot of people that have tons of different offers and tons of different ideal followers fall into is they talk about everything and they try to talk to everyone at the same time instead of having designated periods of time. This could be a few days, a few weeks, or even months at a time where you're focusing on something very, very specific. For example, right now, a lot of my content is focused on my agency because we currently are trying to accept in new clients. Our agency retainers are something that are ongoing that technically people could join at any time. But by focusing all of my content on how we run our agency, results we've gotten our clients, behind the scenes of my agency work, I'm able to specifically speak to and sell that service. And even just from doing that for a few stories and a few of my posts, we've been able to attract an amazing new client for our agency roster. So I highly recommend sitting down with your multiple offers or the multiple types of ideal followers that you're trying to speak to and create content for, and go to your calendar and dedicate your content calendar to those different types of people. This is going to allow you to really focus on that one thing versus talking about a little bit of everything. And the final strategy, which can be in addition to the one I just shared or can be done instead of, is by really focusing your efforts on one ideal follower or one main offer. What I found by doing that is that you'll naturally start to attract those other types of opportunities. For example, I've always noticed when I was offering VIP days that whenever I would do launches for my programs or my mastermind, I would always have someone that maybe didn't want a group setting and would inquire about my VIP days, even though it's not something I ever really talked about very publicly or was even launching. So it shows that when you're being very clear and very specific on who you're trying to reach reach, what you're an expert at, and what you have to bring to the table, even if you're only focusing it on one offer or one specific type of person, it can allow you to naturally attract other people that are interested and might do some lurking. This also applies to if you have different types of businesses. So for example, me going all in on sharing about my agency and that being the main focus on my content, and that could naturally attract brand partnerships on the tools that we use or ways that we run our agency. It also could attract speaking opportunities where people are wanting to hear about how to outsource their video content or how to have the right systems in place. So if you've struggled with posting in the past with your video content, I hope these 3 strategies were helpful. So really leaning into a strong content pillar strategy so you know exactly what you're speaking to, and making sure that each of your content pillars is relevant to one or more of the ideal followers that you have. The second strategy of making sure you're doing mini campaigns or pushes for certain ideal followers or offers. And then the third strategy is really focusing all of your efforts on your main offer or that dream ideal follower that you're trying to attract, where you'll naturally start to attract others as well. If you take anything away from this episode, it is that knowing your ideal follower is the most important thing you can do in your content strategy, because it really helps inform the foundation of what you're creating, why you're creating it, and when you're creating it. I highly recommend binging my Back to Basics series to learn more about building a video content strategy. I'll see you in the next episode.